Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome to Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I'm your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to SST on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and on YouTube. Here we are, Week 9 NFL picks. Pete, Pat, Mark, Pete, Boyle, Shen, PBS, off our best week of the year, 11-4 combined. The first time this season that all three of us had winning weeks at the same time. So the vibes are high, and I'm hoping to keep it that way. The slate is interesting, to say the least. At least I think so. So joining me, as always, as they will throughout the Super Bowl, Pat Boyle, Mark Shenloogian. Pat, what's up, guy?
Pete, what's up, dude? 3-2, and it was 3-0 to start, and I'm very disappointed that it wasn't 5-0 because I was very confident in the Niners, and they ended up throwing the who did I throw in with the Niners?
The Bengals.
The Bengals, which I wasn't 100% confident about, and so they just took the Niners straight up. And then the other one was taking the Giants with the Packers when I also thought the Packers were going to cover straight up, and they did. So, hey, but it's all right. Like you said, winning week, and now we got to keep it going. So let's do that.
Correct. And Mark Shenloogian also joins us after a tumultuous week the week prior, Mark. What a bounce back. 4-1 for you last week.
Yeah, Pete, not surprising, really. I've been waiting for this. It's only been about 8 weeks to, turn a profitable week. But the only loss, not surprising at all, was the New York Giants, who are absolute trash and showed the trash that they truly are finally when I take them this weekend, plus the 7.5. Doesn't surprise me one bit.
It is really the least surprising thing of the season. And when you made the pick, I wish I had the video prepared here right now, but when you made that pick, me and Pat both had visceral, like out of body reactions. I went back in my seat and threw my arms up. I'm like, he's betting the Giants. Pat was like, oh my God. Like, it was actually hysterical that we knew soon as you bet the Giants that they would go terribly wrong. So at least they're on a bye this week at 6-2. So this might be the first week that you can actually be a real fan of the Giants because you're not rooting against them to lose because they can't, because they're not playing. Is that fair?
They'll find a way.
They'll find a way. Somebody will get hurt in practice, or Tony will go 12 for 140 and 2 touchdowns this week for Kansas City. That'll be a huge feather in the Giants' cap. But all right. Oh, also, let me recap myself here real quick. 4-1 for me as well. And now on the year, I'm at 18-22. Pat's at 17-23. Mark Shenloogian, 14-26, and climbing up, I'm saying. Last week, my only L was the Raiders -1, and boy, was that a wrong pick. They lost 24-0, got shut out, was never close. What a disaster for the Raiders last week. But, there you go. Panthers +4. We talked about it on the Tuesday or Wednesday podcast. What a blessing of a win that was, especially since Mark and Pat both had Falcons money line. How we all three of us covered that, I don't know, but I felt good last week. I don't know if I feel good this week, but sometimes that's a good sign. So why don't we get into it? And based off our rules that we made up like 1 week ago, I guess, I don't know. Pat, you're going to go first because you had the lowest record in the most previous week at 3-2, which is dang good. So congratulations on that. But yet you're still leading us off here today. Pat, what's your first pick?
Let's go back to my Dirty Birds in Atlanta. Let's go to the Falcons and let's introduce the primed Patty Boyle same game teaser. I brought it out last week for the Dolphins. I absolutely loved it in that spot, getting the Dolphins through 0 plus 3.5 in the over. They not only win, they not only cover. The over hits by very comfortably by a touchdown, I believe. So I like this spot again here with the Falcons. Give me Atlanta plus 7.5. And let's get the over down to 41.5. That's -105 against the Chargers. Could I be kicking myself on Sunday if the Falcons win this one 27-13? Yeah, I could be if they blow them out, if they cover and win. I mean, look, the Chargers offense, I'm expecting Herbert, no matter who's playing wide receiver, for him to show up and be able to throw the ball against this Atlanta secondary, an Atlanta defense that has struggled for the most part of this year. But then again, is Keenan Allen playing? Who knows? Mike Williams, he's out. He's going to be out for the next couple weeks. Is Joshua Palmer going to play? It looks like it. He had a concussion, but he practiced on Thursday. Eckler's a little banged up, but he seems like he's going to play. But either way, I will rely on this Chargers offense to get some points here, to at least hit like 17 points in this one, or 20 points. So if the Falcons lose by 7, I'm going to need the Chargers to score a lot more than that. But either way, even at the worst, the Chargers should hit their average, which is about 24. So, and then you look at Atlanta. All the reasons that I've picked them to cover in the past, all the reasons they've been very frisky this year is that they can run the ball, they can eat up clock, they're very good in the red zone. And I think even though as bad as they were last week against Carolina, they should have lost that game. They pulled it out, right? And they were able to move the ball down the field when they needed to. And, they've pretty much alternated playing really, really good games with kind of mediocre games. And even in the mediocre ones, outside of that Cincinnati blowout loss, how many times have they been down 2-3 touchdowns early on in the year and they've come back? So they have the offense, even though it doesn't seem like it on paper. They get down early. They have the offense. They have the game plan to be able to stay within the game. So I love this spot again here, getting the Falcons up to 7.5, getting the over down to 41.5. And this should be a fun one.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting about this pick is I'm super torn on this game in general. And we talked about it on Tuesday because I want to kind of bet the Chargers here at -3. It feels like a winnable spot for them. But obviously, if this line was 7.5, it would be a no-brainer to take the Falcons, right? Like, that's football. That's betting in a nutshell. Less than a touchdown makes the world of difference of how you feel about it. Because I don't trust the Chargers to cover 7.5 against anybody. But for some reason, I'm feeling like they could have one of those games where, Herbert's an MVP and doesn't matter who his receivers are. He can do it with anybody. They can have that type of game any week, but there's no reason to trust in their coaching staff and their team and defense right now to expect it in any specific week, especially against a team like the Falcons who have been so competitive this year, right? They haven't been great. They've hardly been good, but they've been very competitive. So Patty Boyle special for your first pick. I love it. Mark, you want to rock? Oh, what do you got, Pat?
Yeah, really quick too. I was just going to say the other thing to consider is the Chargers are coming off of a bye, but I don't think Brandon Staley's a good head coach. So I don't really trust, Brandon Staley off a bye. This is like a great spot for the Chargers. They haven't really led you to believe that they're worth backing when it comes to a situation like that. So that's another reason why that I'm on Atlanta's side, at least in the teaser.
Mark, you want it? You want to go second? You want me to go second? I don't really care.
Pete, I'd love to go second, to be quite honest with you.
These cracked out picks real bad.
Look, well, we'll get to the cracked out picks. For now, we're going to keep it short and simple. 2-leg money line parlay, Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets, pick number 1. And it's really just this simple. If the Jets can't win at home against New England, how are they going to win at home against the Buffalo Bills? If Breece Hall was still healthy and whatnot and not on the IR with the torn ACL, maybe I give him a chance with their run game, but Zach Wilson's pathetic. We saw that again last week. The Jets are right up there with the Giants for biggest frauds in the NFL with the winning record. Pick number 2, Green Bay Packers on the road at the Detroit Lions. I know the Lions are home. They generally play, better there, but the fact of the matter is they're also a 1-6 team, and they just dumped TJ Hawkinson. Factor in that DeAndre Swift's a little banged up with Jamal Williams. Look, they'll probably both play, but they're not 100% healthy. I just think at some point the Packers have to win, and what a better time after the Lions get rid of one of the best pass catchers. It's got to happen sooner or later. So Bills money line, Packers money line, -125, pick number 1.
Nice. You said -125, right?
Yeah, a little on the juice there, -120.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just checking. I just didn't quite hear you. I'm interested in both of those games, and I'm so interested in both of those games, Mark, that I will make my first pick now, and I'll go Green Bay Packers -3.5 at the Detroit Lions. And I said this on the pod the other day. I'm betting this, and I'm closing my eyes, and I'm holding my nose, and I might not even watch the damn game. I don't know if I want to watch that game. It might be a disaster. I might feel so freaking stupid about betting this game after I do it. But here I am making it my first pick of the week. It's 3.5. Right now I'm seeing on pregame.com 66% of the tickets on the Green Bay Packers. Not an abnormal amount. In a normal year, right? Even if the Packers were on a little bit of a downswing, if they're playing a Lions team that has actually underperformed, even though their record's probably about what it's supposed to be, the Packers are catching 85, 90% of bets. Now, I know it's not a normal year. The Packers have been really bad. But the one thing that they did last week in the loss to the Buffalo Bills is commit to the run. You can say that that's because Coach LaFleur didn't want the Bills to run up the score. You can say it's because he thought it was their only chance to not get embarrassed. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They found something and committed to something that worked against one of the best defenses in the NFL last week. And Aaron Jones looked good, and A.J. Dillon looked good. And guess what? It led to some big plays for the passing offense as well. So I think right now, after facing the Buffalo Bills, you go to Detroit and you face one of the worst run defenses in the entire NFL. And then, as Mark just mentioned, some of the injuries that the Lions are dealing with on offense. This is a spot where the Packers run the ball. I'm not even expecting them to win by like 21 and blow this team out. I think they're going to run the ball, control the clock, be solid on defense, and win this game handedly. I think it's going to be by 7 or 10 points or something in that range. But I just think there is finally going to be a commitment to running the ball with Jones and Dillon, and they haven't done it enough. This is the perfect spot for them to do it. Normally, I'd say this is such a sucker bet where, you're going to take the Packers, most obvious pick of the week. Now with them losing so much, it's not obvious. And pregame.com is telling us right there, only 66% of the tickets on the Green Bay Packers. The public loves betting the Lions. It's not like this is some slam dunk trap bet here. I think there's a chance where people are going to be fading the Packers because they're so disappointed. They've lost so much money over the last 3 or 4 weeks that this is their chance to turn it around and put together their most solid performance of the year. Packers minus 3.5 at the Detroit Lions. That's my first pick.
You're really loving that one.
I hate it so much, Pat.
Oh, you hate it?
Oh, yeah. The worst thing I've ever done.
You're trying to convince yourself so much while you're saying it. It sounds convincing.
Oh, yeah. The reasoning is fantastic, but I hate it so much. Big time hate.
I mean, they've given you no reason to be confident. So I totally understand that. But you would figure that with all the parity in the NFL, how teams look dog shit one week and then great the next, that sooner or later, you've got to think that Aaron Rodgers will get the job done.
You're right. And guess what? The Lions haven't been very good. Lions haven't been good.
They haven't. And I guarantee you, if you listen to any picks podcast or you hear anybody give out their picks this weekend, the most common word / phrase you're going to hear from Lions bettors this weekend is desperation spot, right? This is desperation. This is Dan Campbell, desperation spot.
They've been on desperation mode all year, bro.
Exactly. They've been desperation mode for 2 years. So Dan Campbell might cry again after this game, but
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like the pick. I'm not taking it, but let's move on to my second pick. This is the Mark Shenloogian-esque money line parlay here. And I feel most confident these two teams, given the value, just straight up pick up the W this week. Let's go with the Bengals to win, and let's go with the Patriots to win. Both of them on the money line. That's minus 118. Some trends for you here for the Bengals and Joe Burrow, because everybody was off them the first 3 weeks. Then they got on them going into Monday night, or a lot of people at least it felt like, and then they get absolutely steamrolled by Jacoby Brissett and the Brownies on Halloween. Talk about a real nightmare, if you will, for them. But here's some trends for you. Joe Burrow, after a loss, he is 12-4 against the spread. That is the best in the NFL since he was drafted. Also, Burrow, when the offense scores less than 20 points the next week, they are 8-1 against the spread, and they average 31 points per game. So here you go. Soft spot with the Carolina Panthers. They felt frisky the last 2 weeks. The huge upset win against Tampa Bay, and then how the fun game we had with Atlanta. They're still not a good team. Nothing from a week-to-week basis is going to change that. No matter how well Deonta Foreman runs the ball, he's going to have to get a ton of carries again this week with Chuba Hubbard being ruled out. Again, just bounce back spot for Cincinnati. I don't care that Jamar Chase is out. Even if Jamar Chase played, they're probably not beating the Browns in that game because the offensive line got absolutely whitewashed. So I know Carolina, the one thing they kind of hang their head on is their pass rush. Again, I'm just expecting Burrow and the Bengals to bounce back here at home. I don't know if they're going to cover. 7 points is a lot for a team that feels like it's a coin flip on whether or not you can trust them. But just to win, I like it. And then the Patriots at home. This is for me just purely Bill Belichick against a rookie QB. He is going to find a way. He's going to find a defensive game plan to shut down Sam Ehlinger. And with Jonathan Taylor, obviously not 100%, not sure if he's going to play. Did not practice at Thursday. And I'm seeing an updated report here. He is not present for the start of Friday's practice. That's not good news. And even if he does play, I don't care. New England, this is a great spot for them, in my opinion. Get above 500 with the win at home here, coming off the impressive win against the Jets. And Indianapolis, whether it's been Ehlinger, whether it's been Matt Ryan, the offense has been absolutely abysmal here. So really, really big fan of the Pats this weekend. And that spread is very strange because it's at 5.5, and it feels like it should be either 3.5, or it should just go all the way up to 6. It's in that awkward in between. So, I'd appreciate that it's at 5.5, because that gives me the value to take them money line with the Bengals and get it -118.
Okay. I too am falling for the trap with this one. New England money line, leg 1 of this parlay. Look, 2 weeks ago they got slammed at home by the Chicago Bears. But last week they came out and they smashed the Jets. However, there was a pick 6 that got called back via roughing the passer. So if that happens, I'll be honest with you, New England probably loses that game. And Mac Jones may be pulled for Bailey Zappi again if that happens in that game. But I'm going to choose to ignore all that and go with the fact that they seem to be a little bit better last week. Jones played the full game, so maybe there's some stability there. Basically, it's just a fate of Indianapolis at this point. I don't trust Ellinger, a quarterback. Pat mentioned Jonathan Taylor's probably not going to play. And just Indianapolis, they look lifeless on offense. They have pretty much all year, regardless of who plays QB. So give me the Patriots leg 1, and then leg 2, give me Kirk Cousins at that. I think it's 1 o'clock. Heck, it might be 4 o'clock this week. I doubt it. I think it's 1 o'clock, though.
It's 1.
He returns to Washington this week. I think it's for the first time since he left. That could very well be wrong because he's been gone for so many years. But look, I don't know. He's back in Washington this week. I expect him to bring his A game. Commanders in complete dysfunction with news that Dan Snyder's probably going to sell the team now. Heineke doesn't inspire much confidence from me. They slipped by the Colts by a point last week on the road right at the end. So you're getting Minnesota +3.5. I'm teasing them up to +3.5 in this one. That should be more than enough points. If they lose, it's probably only going to be by a field goal. So give me the New England Patriots and the Minnesota Vikings. New England Patriots money line, Minnesota Vikings +3.5, +100. Pick 2.
Kirk Cousins, 1 o'clock. Never lost? Undefeated? Unstoppable? Who's to say? Who's to say? If he lost, I never seen it at 1 o'clock.
He can lose this week, and we're still good.
Yeah, 100%. All right, love that. I'm going on to my next pick here, and I'm going to go with a teaser, my first teaser of the week, and I love this one. Actually, maybe I don't. I think that's my trend. That's my trend for this entire week. I hate all my picks. They're all disasters waiting to happen, and that means I'm going 5-0 or 0-5, and I don't know. I hate everything. Everything sucks. That's how I feel. Anyways. Take my bets. As I'm trying to convince people why I like these picks, I preface it by saying I hate this so much. All right, here we go. Pick number 2, my first teaser of the week. I'm going the Jacksonville Jaguars up to +7.5 from +1.5, and the Seattle Seahawks from +2.5 up to +8.5. Is that right? Maybe it's -2. Hold on, 2. So sorry. Jaguars are going to be at +7.5. The Seahawks are going to be at +8. That's my teaser, and here you go. The Jaguars and the Raiders are playing one another. Wow, what a disaster. 2 teams that love to lose. That's right. Whatever happens, though, with 2 teams that love to lose is you might get a really fun, really stupid game that's going to be close and come down to the wire. I would be absolutely flabbergasted if this game does not come down to the final 2 minutes. And when that happens, 7.5 is a whole lot of points. I think both of these offenses can move the ball, even though the Raiders could not last week. I think the defenses for both of them have a few good players who can make some big plays, but also have a lot of problems. So I think there's going to be some points in this game, and I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be a close one. So no matter who I think is going to win, I lean towards the Jacksonville Jaguars just because I think they're a little bit more talented across the board on both sides. So I'm going Jaguars +7.5. Also with the teaser, obviously huge to get past the 3 and past the 7. If you bet on the Raider side and tease it, you're going through 0 and then getting to like 5.5. Like that doesn't feel very beneficial to use a teaser there. So I'm going Jaguars up to 7.5. With the Seahawks Cardinals game, I didn't really want to bet this game straight up. I think in division in Arizona, I don't really love betting against Kyler Murray too often because even with a disastrous coach to quarterback situation, he's good enough to just kind of put his team on the back, keep them in a game. They actually had a chance to win that game against Minnesota last week, or at least make it a little bit closer. They did not. So now you get the Seahawks, who have been really a model of consistency here. They haven't been fantastic, but they've been very good. Their defense flies around. Geno Smith playing wonderful football, and Kenneth Walker can run the hell out of it. You get them up to +8, man, feel really good. Again, this is the type of game that I could easily see being a 3-point game going into the final minute of the game, and it's going to come down to a field goal. It's going to come down to a last-minute touchdown to switch leads. So I think +8 is absolutely perfect. This is a tailor-made teaser through the 3, through the 7 on teams I kind of lean towards betting anyway. So you get them at +7.5 and +8, and you're good to go. So that's my second pick of the week.
Okay, I am going to be somewhat on the flip side of you here, Pete. I'm taking the Cardinals -2 in this one. At least that is the last time I checked. That's what the spread was. Let me just double check here on the fly.
It's -2. I just checked it too. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just gave out your pick, so I should have just trusted what you said anyway. Give me the Cardinals -2. I think this is a spot where everybody's on Seattle. I think earlier in the week, at least 80% of the tickets were on the Seahawks, right? They're like the Giants now. They're the feel-good team. They just didn't really steamroll the Giants. The score was not really indicative of how the game went, but they win it by 2 touchdowns. And now I feel like everybody still kind of has a sour taste in their mouth all this entire season about how Arizona looks and the kind of team they are. I think this is a spot for them where they're at home. They obviously, divisional opponent, need to win the game. Cliff Kingsbury and this offense, this is a good spot for them where I think they're going to roll. They're going to put up 35-plus points against the Seattle defense that, like you said, it's kind of, they don't really do anything special. They kind of fly around. They give up a ton of yards, but they've kind of been bend, don't break in the red zone. I think they're due to get blown out here. Hopefully not by more than 8. Maybe you get a backdoor cover, Pete, on the 8.5. But I really like Arizona here, and they've really given you no reason to think that they can be trusted. Even in the games they've won this year, they haven't all felt that comfortable. But I think you get another week with DeAndre, with D-Hop back, for Kyler Murray and this offense get going. James Conner's trending towards playing. Even if he doesn't, Seattle's defense, not very good. The secondary can be had. I think this is a game where Hopkins goes easily for 100 yards and a touchdown. One thing to look out for with Arizona, the offensive line, Rodney Hudson, the all-pro center, out once again. You got a couple questionables with the tackle, DJ Humphries, and the guard, Max Garcia. But either way, again, I'm just maybe this is more me being contrarian, maybe me trying to be a little bit more sharp. I think the Cardinals win this one. I think they win it very comfortably. So Arizona -2.
And real quick before you go, Mark. So this line opened at 3.5, right? So that's exactly what you're saying, Pat. The money came flying in on the Cardinals. Now that it's at -2, the money spread is much more even, right? So now I'm seeing on pregame.com here 66% of the bets and 65% of the cash. So like, no real money spread on the -2, but this opened at -3.5. I actually just saw on pregame.com live as I'm saying this, it went down to -1.5. So maybe on DraftKings, it hasn't changed yet, but it's still trending in that direction here. So I agree with your assessment, Pat. And this year has been all about, gambling, right? Gambling on a team that did good a week prior to kind of fall down the next week, and a team that looked like crap the week prior to kind of show up next week. That's been the literal epitome of this football season, right? So you kind of have to take those educated guesses. You have to take those risks on teams that gave you no reason to feel good about them 1 week ago for them to show up. It's been happening all year. So that's why I think your bet is solid. But again, I think this is going to be a close one, not a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, logic would tell you bet the Seahawks in this one. Right. Especially Kyler's lost 3 straight to Seattle. Kingsbury, we know him against the spread as a favorite. He's terrible, 9-15, especially in the division. And they've been terrible at home. Outside of that Thursday night win a couple of weeks ago against New Orleans, they had lost 8 straight. So, like I said, this is for me a sharp play, or at least I'm trying to be sharp here, considering that everybody else seems to be on Seattle, and the fact that this has now come below a field goal to 2 points. I'm going to treat this as a pick 'em. If they win the game by 1, so be it. But yeah, 2 points. I like it. I like the Cardinals.
All right, pick 3. Very similar to Mr. Boyle's pick. Arizona Cardinals money line, -125. Look, as of 5 minutes ago, I had Arizona Cardinals win with Kyler Murray to throw a touchdown, but that only made it -120. So why expose yourself to that risk when you can just take them to win the game, especially considering he threw 0 touchdowns the first meeting? I mean, if I go and do that, Kyler will have 3 rushing touchdowns and he won't throw 1. I think there's just a little bit of a revenge spot here. They lost up at Seattle a couple weeks ago, 19-9. So the defense has proven they can, hold the explosive Seattle offense with Geno Smith to under 20. I say that as a joke. I just like the fact that they've been playing better since DeAndre Hopkins has come back. especially last week. They lost a tight game at Minnesota. I think if they bring that level, especially off a loss against a division rival, they should be able to squeak by this week. For my sake, in the divisional standings between us, hopefully they win by a point. But if it's by more than a point, I'm not going to be too angry. So, Arizona Cardinals, money line, pick number 3. Guess none of you thought that joke was funny. So, we'll swing it over to you.
I got to be honest. I didn't even hear your joke. I was trying to type. What, you want to say it again?
For the sake of our standings here, hopefully they win by just a point. But if they win by anything more than that, it's all good.
Well, I don't think Pat would think that's very funny.
Yeah, my next pick is actually Bills money line minus 750.
You just wait for these next two, Patrick. You just wait for these next 2 picks out of me.
Mark guaranteed some crazy picks. I'm seeing some pretty standard picks right now, Mark. You're going to have to turn it up if you want to consider these picks crazy. I'm just saying. All right, well, I'm going to move on to my next pick here. I'm going to go with another teaser, my second teaser, my last teaser of the week. I'm going to incorporate the Buffalo Bills for a lot of the reasons that you guys explained earlier. You know, this team's been a juggernaut. Can you imagine a world where for some reason the Jets defense, shows up and makes Josh Allen's life a little bit difficult? Sure. But with the teaser here, you get them from minus 11 down to minus 5. So you get underneath the 7. You just need them to win by a touchdown. And then you take the Bengals, who are perfectly set up at minus 7.5, to drop them down to minus 1.5. I really wanted to bet the Panthers this week. I really did. But like Pat explained, you have that dramatic game last week against the Falcons where they play into overtime. They really come back so strong and kind of had no reason to win that game, right? It's a Hail Mary attempt that actually worked out. You don't expect that to happen very often. And the Bengals defense, they got kind of embarrassed last week, right? And you kind of like to bet on teams that were embarrassed a week ago to show up a little bit stronger this week. So you'd get them down to minus 1.5. And I'm not really as worried about the Jamar Chase thing as other people are, especially against a team like the Panthers. So I'm pretty comfortable here. I think most importantly, though, the Bills defense continues to show up and just shut down the Jets offense, which has been really bad under Zach Wilson. They're really struggling, and there's no real path for them to figure it out and all of a sudden put together some crazy performance. So you get the Bills down to minus 5 and the Bengals down to minus 1.5. Just got to bet on Lou Anarumo. Shout out to Staten Island guy, Lou Anarumo, defensive coordinator for the Bengals, who had probably the worst game of their past 2 seasons, perhaps defensively last week. You gotta look for them to bounce it back. So you get them minus 1.5 and Bills minus 5. That's my second pick.
That would be your third pick.
That's my third pick.
Okay, for this, that's my fourth pick here. I told you, Pete, I prefaced it earlier in the week that I was going to be on the Tennessee Titans, and I am not backing down from that sentiment here. And this is something, too, where I was, again, I'm saying, all right, maybe should I get Tennessee up to 14.5 and play with the over-under? And you know what? God forbid, no matter who's playing quarterback, and they show up and they put up 24 to 27 points in this one, I'll be cooked. And they could lose by a field goal, and I'll be destroyed because I decided to take a same-game parlay. I'm taking Tennessee straight up plus 12.5 here. I said earlier in the year, remember I was on about as wrong of a side as you could be on when I said I thought they were not only going to cover against the Bills, but they had a chance to win the game outright. They got absolutely blown out of the building. So here's their second chance to step up against one of the elite teams in the NFL in prime time, Sunday night in Arrowhead. All the advantages that KC has playing at home. I like the Titans to make this a close game. Winners of 5 in a row. Doesn't matter if Ryan Tannehill's playing quarterback for me or if it's Malik Willis. I think they have the opportunity to eat up a ton of clock. They can run the ball. I mean, again, this is Derrick Henry when he's in the form that he's in, running the ball, breaking tackles, getting 5-6 yards a pop. I know he just ran all over Houston, which is not a hard task. But the offensive line has looked about as good as it has all year. The defense looks a lot better, especially in the red zone and the pass rush, being able to get after the quarterback. They've adjusted to having no Harold Landry. They've adjusted to having Deshaun Hand go on the IR. So this secondary, I think they're going to play shell defense. Vrabel, I think, who has beaten the Chiefs 2 out of the last 3 times against Mahomes, is going to find a way to devise a game plan to keep the game in front of them. And they're going to force Harrison Butker, I think, to kick 3, maybe 4 field goals. You know, if you wanted me to give a score here, I'm thinking maybe it's 27-21 Kansas City with Tennessee's got the ball with a chance to try to win the game. I'm going after Tennessee again here. I think in a primetime spot as a huge underdog, I think they show up this time. Give me the Titans plus 12.5.
All right, pick 4. That took forever to type, Pete. So here we go. A lot of legs here, a lot of action. Leg 1, Las Vegas Raiders plus 7.5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars this Sunday at 1 o'clock. Jacksonville has regressed to what they normally are, and that is absolute trash. Another less than inspiring performance last week against the Denver Broncos. I know they're home this week. Raiders got spanked 24-0 this week. I highly, highly, highly doubt they're going to score 0 again. They should bounce back on offense in some sort of fashion. And look, even if they do somehow lose this game, I can't see it being by more than 7 points here. So that's going to be leg number 1 for the Raiders to keep it close against the Jags. I still think they win anyway. Leg 2, we're going to go over to the Bengals and the Panthers matchup. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals money line for all the reasons that Pat noted before. Bounce back off the loss. Look, I know the Panthers won last week, but I don't think they're anything, special whatsoever. And you're going on the road here, and Cincinnati's been pretty much a monster at home, even though Jamar Chase is still out. So the Bengals should get the win at home, but then also in the same game, give me the Carolina Panthers to score over 7.5 points to knock this down to even odds. I don't know how I came up with this one, but this is one of the whacked out picks. The Panthers should be able to score more than 8 points or more in this game, right? They've got some weapons. Deontay Foreman was a little bit of a revelation last week. PJ Walker is playing decent football, and DJ Moore is a star wide receiver. So, yeah, I mean, look, could they score 3 points in this game? Sure. They could also score 0. They could score 5, but it's not likely. I think they're going to score 8 or more points. So give me the Raiders plus 7.5, and then parlay that with the Cincinnati Bengals money line and the Carolina Panthers over 7.5 points, and that gives you even odds for pick number 4. And I promise you, pick number 5 is worse.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, listen, that's insane. I don't know how you got there, but here you are. So count it, right? Is that like a same game X? Is that what they call it on?
That is a same game parlay feature with the Bengals and Panthers in order to get that combo. Yes.
Yeah. All right. There you go.
Yeah, Pat's scratching his head right now. Like, what is wrong with this guy? I don't know. But
hey, listen, 4-1 last week. You're flipping the script. I like it. I like where your head's at. Keep grinding it out. All right, my 4th pick. I'm actually I lied. I said I had no more teasers left. I have one more teaser left. I'm going to the Patty Boyle special here. I'm going Patriots money line and under 50.5. That gives you minus 115 odds. All the things that Pat described going against a rookie quarterback in just his second start here. Bill Belichick feast on those types of matchups. And this is going to be 2 teams that want to run the ball and limit their quarterback mistakes. That gives you the under 50.5. That's 10 points, by the way. 10 points on the over-under. The actual over-under is 40.5. I would consider it. I actually came really close to making under 45.5. I'm sorry, under 40.5. One of my picks straight up, just under. But if you go Pat's money line and under 50.5, really, really feel good about that one. The Patriots should win that game. They really need to win this game as well, as the Dolphins keep ripping away win after win here to stay in this wild card race of the AFC. And the Patriots can run the hell out of the ball. The Colts defense is pretty dang solid against the run. They're 4th best on a yards per attempt basis against the run here. And the Patriots are middle of the pack against the Colts team that's supposed to be a run-heavy team, that's supposed to be awesome with the run, and they really just haven't been. So I think there's not going to be a lot of points in this game, which is why the 5.5 scared me just away just a little bit here. But Mac Jones now back from injury for his 3rd week. He did not look good against the Jets last week. But this is a chance for him to kind of show out a little bit. Stevenson's been one of the best running backs in the NFL. Jacoby Myers getting more involved, as well as Tyquan Thornton, just giving them some speed that they don't normally have. I think the Patriots offense looks a little bit better this week, and I just don't think there's going to be a lot of points here. So Patriots money line under 50.5. So you buy 5.5 points on the spread, 10 points on the over-under, and that gets you to minus 115. The Patty Boyle special is hot right now. I'm loving that. My 4th pick.
All right, 5th and final pick here. It's another one where, we talk about picks we don't feel great about. I don't necessarily feel great about this pick, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and let it sling because, even though the Baltimore Ravens, right, all the fourth quarter games they've blown, you feel like, okay, they're still a very good team. They're banged up here, and I really don't trust them at all. So I like the New Orleans Saints here, and I'm going to reintroduce the Patty Boyle same game teaser once again here for the second time this week. Give me the Saints plus 7.5 and under 55.5, and that gets you minus 115 odds. So I'm just typing that out for you here, Pete, making your job a little easier. Sorry, I didn't have that typed out before. New Orleans plus 7.5, under 55.5. Again, minus 115 odds. Look, with Baltimore, the weapons continue to, fade from their arsenal. Rashad Bateman now out for the rest of the season. Mark Andrews, my fantasy tight end, has done absolutely nothing the last 2 weeks. Didn't even see the ball 2 weeks ago. Then looked like he was going to have a great bounce back game against Tampa Bay. Leaves early on in the game with an injury. Now they're saying he's got a shoulder and an ankle injury, both apparently minor. I don't know what trust however much you will. But I just feel like there's a lot of problems being sprung up here with Baltimore, especially for a team that's won 3 out of their last 4 games and 2 in a row. To me, when you actually watch the games, I just don't feel like they're that great of a team right now. Maybe they hit their stride in another couple of weeks, but I mean, Pete, you've heard me. I've kind of been souring on them over the last few weeks here. So this is a spot. And New Orleans, you think they have this like huge, great home field advantage? Not in prime time. They've lost 5 straight in prime time at home, which is very shocking. But I think you get a bit of a turnaround here with the way that they go about their business here in this game, especially coming off that blowout win against the Vegas Raiders, who, by the way, chalk that prediction I made with the AFC West, throw it in the trash, burn it, do whatever you will with it. But New Orleans, this defense, which was terrible the first couple of weeks of the season, finally started to show some life last week. And I feel like, now they continue to get better here as the year goes on, especially with the pass rush, something that Lamar has had a problem with this year when he's being blitzed. It doesn't seem like he's able to escape the pocket all that easily. He's thrown an interception in 9 out of his last 13 games. So especially you take another weapon away from him and Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, who is banged up. New Orleans obviously is going to be game planning to stop Mark Andrews and force Baltimore to continue to run the football. Again, maybe a bit of a sharp play here. Maybe not, because I'm teasing them up because I don't trust them that much to go and cover 2.5 or win the game outright. But I like New Orleans to keep this game tight, especially with Baltimore's propensity still to try to let things slip away from them in the fourth quarter. So Saints plus 7.5, under 55.5, minus 115.
All right. Last pick for me. Leg 1 of 4 in this parlay / same game parlay. New Orleans Saints plus 10.5. Kind of going the Pat Boyle route here a little bit, except I'm tacking on another 3 points. The Baltimore Ravens going to be without Rashad Bateman. He's out for the year. Mark Andrews probably leaning towards not playing from what I've seen so far, missing some practices this week, or he's at least not going to be 100%. And if he does play, he may leave early again, just like he did against the Bucs a week ago. All this chalks up to the Ravens signing Deshaun Jackson to be their savior heading into this game. Look, the Saints at home in primetime getting double digits here, boosting them up to 10.5. That should be enough to get the job done. Andy Dalton has played decently well. Alvin Kamara finally got back on the touchdown train last week. I know Michael Thomas is done for the year. However, you still got weapons with Taysom Hill, Chris Olave. Juwan Johnson's been a surprise at tight end a little bit as well. They should be able to keep the game close for 10 points. And then the second, third, and fourth legs. The Rams-Buccaneers game has interested me big time this week. We're going to go Tom Brady to throw 1 touchdown in this game. Matthew Stafford to also throw 1 touchdown in this game. Look, these are the two worst rushing offenses in the entire NFL right now on a yards per game basis. So if they're going to score, it's going to have to be through the air. And they're just due. At some point, these offenses have to pick up a little bit because while, their lines have not been great in protecting, they've still scored way below than what you normally think with the weapons that each of these teams have. So I think there's no way that Brady and Stafford don't at least throw 1 touchdown this week. And then the final part of this is that the game goes over just 32.5 points. Again, I mean, with these two offenses, the last time they played each other, they was well over 50. We need 33 in this game or more for the final leg of this parlay. So just to recap it one more time, New Orleans Saints plus 10.5. Brady to throw a touchdown. Stafford to throw a touchdown. And the Bucs-Rams game to go over 32.5. Minus 120. Pick 5. Pete, take it away.
Mod on. I mean, hey now. Listen. Both of those Rams and Bucs teams have been a disaster. And weirdly, though, the Bucs have been putting up a lot of yards, not a lot of points. Something might fall over at some point. Maybe all they need is this Rams defense that hasn't been very good. And maybe this Rams offense and defense really just needed the bye week. So maybe you're going to get your points. You're going to get your touchdowns. I'm happier with your bet that you stayed away from the side there. I wanted nothing to do with the side on that game because you can talk yourself in and out of every team in 5 different directions. So you're not counting on that much. The only thing you're counting on is that the game's not going to be 13-10, right? That's the only thing that you're counting on here. And the Saints plus 10.5 feels pretty solid. The Ravens haven't really been blowing people out, especially of late. It's going to be a heavy Isaiah Likely game, perhaps for the Ravens. So there you go, Mark. I like that one. That one definitely fit the bill of a crazy pick, 4-legger. Just madness. So
I just feel bad for the graphic. That's really at this point. That's what
it fit. It already fit. I already got it in. All good. I already got it. It's a little bit smaller for the font size than the other ones, but hey, it works. It works. It's legible. All right, my final pick, and this one is another pick where I'm holding my nose, closing my eyes, everything. I'm going with the Chargers -3 at the Falcons. Listen, the Falcons, I've faded them 2 or 3 weeks in a row now with success because they were started off 6-0 against the spread. They've now lost against the spread 2 times in a row. Last week, obviously, with a bit of a miracle by the Panthers there. And the Chargers are just not very good against the spread when they're favorites. They've only won their games this year. The first game was by 5 against the Raiders. Their second win was 10 against the Texans, which is pretty good. But then 2-point win against the Browns and a 3-point win against the Broncos. So, they're not really blowing people out. I get that. However, with this bet, it really is a strategy here where I think at least one of the Packers or Chargers are going to show up and put together a great performance. So if one of those two hit, Packers -3.5 or Chargers -3, I'm going to be fine with that. If they both lose, I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to hate myself, but I already hate myself. So it can't get much worse than this. Chargers off the bye, can run the ball pretty well. The thing about the Falcons defense here is that they're just not that good, right? Like they give up 4.5 yards per carry. They're second worst in the league on yards per play in the air as well. And it's been such a talking point for a million people out there talking about the Chargers not pushing the ball down the field enough. We know Keenan Allen's still going to be out. We know that's an issue, but Eckler's been very good for them. I do think Josh Palmer's due for a big game. I know Mike Williams as well, but this Chargers team now has been teetering. They're teetering, right? They're just not getting it done. They got embarrassed by the Seahawks a few weeks back. They just beat the Broncos in overtime a few weeks back. And now it's time for them to actually win a game within reason here. And they look at their schedule coming up after that. They have the Niners in primetime next week on Sunday. And then they have the Chiefs the week after. So 2 really tough games. If they want to continue to become a playoff team this year, this is a game that absolutely has to be had. And I like the idea of fading a team that was the cover darling, right? Marcus Mariota was Mr. Covers the first 6 weeks of the season. That usually doesn't last. Teams don't typically go, 14 and 14 and what's the math there? 14-5 against the spread, right? So I think at 6-2 against the spread, why do you think they're going to keep covering? At one point, people are going to start catching on. And if you look at the spread of tickets and money here, it's another one of those situations that normally you see Chargers Falcons, -3 in the Chargers' favor. You're going to expect 75-80% of the bets on the Chargers, but the public is catching on, right? And when the public catches on, you have to flip again. Only 57% of the tickets on the Chargers. It's not like Vegas is making this some sort of trap. This is the actual line here. This is the true line that is expected by Vegas. It's not some sort of line to try to get people to continue to bet on the Chargers when the Falcons are going to win. I think this is a reasonable line, and I think the Chargers are going to cover it. And it's going to be another show of Austin Eckler getting into the end zone and Justin Herbert just being the best player on the football field. So whether the Chargers cover or the Packers cover, I think one of them is bound to. I think both of them can, because as soon as the public catches on to some of these teams that they used to love to bet and starts betting against them, it's exactly when a team like the Packers and Chargers can take advantage of that and show up and we go, oh yeah, Right. They have the better players. They have the better team. They have the best quarterback, and they're going to take care of business. So Chargers -3 at the Falcons. That's my final pick. How we feeling, fellas? How we feeling about the picks today? Feeling good about week 9? We doing all right here?
Look, obviously not my style with some of these picks that I made this week.
Is it though? I feel like it might be your style.
I don't know if it's, but look, the picks like this have blown up in my face. I remember Lamar Jackson not throwing for 170. I also remember the Chiefs not getting a 23.5 the 1 week against Buffalo or whatever it was. I mean, hopefully they go the way. I don't see how they lose. I mean, what? Those run games are all of a sudden going to combine for 6 touchdowns in a game, or you know what? Maybe they'll just play to a 6-3 game and no touchdowns will be scored whatsoever in that one. I really don't know. The other one, the only way that blows up is if the Bengals win like 34-3 and they don't score over 7.5 points. They don't score 8. But hopefully for my sake, it's like 20-0. The Panthers score at like the death and they have to go for 2 just to give me that inkling that I have a chance, and they don't get it and it blows up in their faces.
You're asking for a lot here.
I'm asking for a lot, but I mean, with the first 6-7 weeks and how I've suffered, just another 4 or 5 win week would really, the pressure, I think you guys would be feeling it. The 10-25 dogs and looked destined for last place a week ago could possibly start to make some noise.
Yeah, your team's kind of like the Chargers, if you think about it. You know, we're not sure about the coaching. We're not sure if the direction of the team is pulling the right way, but you sure do have talent.
My brain has had a hamstring injury like Keenan Allen since week 1, so that would explain a lot of why I'm well below 500. So,
Pat, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I think I'm going to be watching a close game with Tennessee, Buffalo, and thinking, see, I made the right move. Hopefully Arizona takes care of business. If I had to give them my most confident, I don't see really any way how the Bengals lose to Carolina or how the Patriots let Sam Ehlinger come into Gillette and beat them. I know Justin Fields and the Bears crushed them 2 weeks ago. I think that was a one-off. So
I do think on a prop perspective, if you're looking at the Patriots Colts game, Ehlinger might have to do some scrambling here, right? He might have to run. He might scamper for 35 yards. I don't know what his prop is at, but.
Well, Jonathan Taylor, since we've been doing this pod, Jonathan Taylor is out for Sunday. So.
Well, thank God we locked him in. I think that spread might be moving just a touch. Even Deion Jackson looked pretty good in the backup role there. He looked like he was running just as hard as anybody else. So we'll see. My blow-up spot is all 5 of my picks. You know, I feel terrible right now. I got to be honest here. I'm not feeling that confident about all these picks here. And sometimes, as we discussed earlier in the year here, sometimes you're not supposed to feel good about these picks, right? If you feel good about every pick, it's usually because you are not pushing the boundaries of what you think versus what you know, right? Like there's a difference between just chalking up things that seem like sure things and then versus like, really going outside of the realm of what's supposed to happen, if that makes sense. So I think some of these picks are a little bit of reverse psychology here with the Packers -3.5 and the Chargers -3. Normally those would be very square, stupid picks. And I'm thinking that the public caught on and I'm going to end up on the sharp side of things. So that's my hope, but I can't tell you that I feel great about it. So that's all I got. All right. Subway Sports Talk, week 9 picks. Thanks for listening, everybody. Appreciate you. As always, we'll be here until Super Bowl making these picks every single week. So for Mark Shenloogian, for Pat Boyle, thank you guys for listening. I am Pete Kennedy, Subway Sports Talk. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Subscribe, hit the notification bell on YouTube, and we will see you next week. Go SST, go PBS. Another big week. Cheers.